Hi, I'm Tom.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Lewis.
This is the Wigan Way, Wigan's favourite rugby league podcast.
He'll put you in his trap, 'cause he's a union man. He's got it all figured out. He won't care what you think, 'cause he's a northern man. He's allowed to speak his mind. His mind.
The Wigan Way podcast is brought to you by Cherry and White Pins, a local Wigan Warriors themed pin badge company with a variety of Wigan ranges. You can get free shipping on all orders when you use the code THEWIGANWAY, that's The Wigan Way, all in capitals, at checkout. Thanks to them for supporting the show.
So, we are back with another episode. This time it's after round 23. A win for Wigan. It's a few wins now, back to back after a difficult spell of some tough losses. So it's been a really important few weeks for Wigan. But before we dive into that game, I'm joined with Matty and Lewis. How are you doing, lads?
Excellent, yeah, really good week. Sort of the last week of the time off and then back to work next week, so all ready for that now.
Yeah, all good, mate. Back to work for myself. I go back a bit earlier than the new guys. I feel like the knockout of the routines just took its effect on me this week. This morning, you might be able to hear my voice. I'm a bit
croaky.
ran down, a bit croaky, yeah. And there's probably going to be a lot of coughs in this episode, so apologies to the listeners in advance for me coughing. I'll try and get away from the microphone and not interrupt the flow of the conversation. But yeah, bear with me, listeners.
So should we jump into this game then? We obviously played Hull FC at home, round 23. 4 games left until the playoffs. So
Yeah.
it is getting to the business end of the season now. It's the last 2 months of the season.
Yeah.
This is where it matters. And Wigan are in a bit of a funny position if we dive into that before actually the game itself. We're in a funny position because we're missing both our halfbacks, French and Smith. But everyone's aware that they're going to be back before the playoffs.
Yeah.
So while a lot of teams are sort of now trying to go through the gears and start hitting form for the right time of the season, I don't get that feeling with us at the moment. Because we know the halves are going to change. Kieran's going to go back in the centres.
It's like we're in a bit of a holding pattern waiting for them two guys to be back. I mean, what doesn't get mentioned is that Brad O'Neill's missing. But I think because he's not going to be back this year, that's why it doesn't get mentioned. But it is worth noting.
And Fields only just come back.
And Fields
He's only
only
just
just come
what,
back,
2-3 weeks back.
It just feels like there's that. We're just chilling in second gear, not really putting the foot down yet,
No.
and waiting for them two to come back to then have a big push at the end of the season. And that could work beneficial or not. You might not have enough time to find form, but when French and Smith are available, they're going to have to play in the halves. So it's not like it's questionable whether these two players come back into the team.
Yeah. But the conversation around Hull Care at the moment is, can they win every game, finish top and win the league, which will be 13 wins in a row, which is what we did last year. I'm not sure that's something that you can be realistically thinking you can do.
What Wigan did at the back end of last year was ridiculous.
It's outrageous. And for Hull KR to win both trophies, they would have to match that. They would have to win 13 straight. So what I'm saying is, it's not going to be easy to ramp up now. If you're Hull KR, have they peaked too soon?
That's the worry for Hull KR, because they're playing some very good rugby, and obviously we'll talk about that in a little bit, and it's quite important for us to talk about it with a Wigan perspective. So that top three, Warrington included. Warrington got a little bit of an easier running, but they're playing some decent rugby. I feel like Warrington have got another gear. It's the question whether Hull KR can find another gear.
I'm not sure they need to, because they're flying. It's just whether they can
maintain
the current one.
Yeah.
I think it's just on that point, though. It's really good to see a strong OKR side. And I think everything they're doing as a club, we've mentioned it before, over the last couple of years, they've been building. You know, I've said this many times on the podcast. I go back to when I first got into rugby, and Hull was an easy 2 points. I remember them getting to a Challenge Cup final. Can't remember the year now off the top of my head, but it was against Leeds.
Yeah,
and they lost 50-odd nil, I think it was, in a Challenge Cup final. You know, got to Wembley, and that was the final scoreline. It was one of the most disappointing finals ever, really. But that's the position they were in, and now to actually be competing, and Willie Peters has done such a good job, and the club to recruit Willie Peters in, they're just moving in the right direction. So I do hope. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, I want Wigan to win everything, but I just hope for the good of the game, okay, I can keep this going and have a good run in up to the final games. And
if the shoe was on the other foot
competitive.
and we were currently sitting in 8th and Leeds were 2nd, I'd want Hull KR to pip Leeds.
Yeah.
And that's, so you know what I mean. That's why I can understand the other fans of other clubs wanting.
Yeah. Before we actually go into the game, I've just had a thought, and I'm going to throw it in now. Hull KR obviously got to the Challenge Cup final last year, lose with a drop goal, but have gone on and probably kicked on and got even better this year.
Yeah,
it was only 3 years ago that we were talking about Huddersfield losing a game in the last 2 minutes to a Liam Marshall try, and that they were ready to make the next step and really push on.
Yeah.
And Ian Watson was going to take them to the next level. So I think that massively shows how good this job that Peters has done, Hull KR have done, because they've gone and reinvested in the squad. They've tried to take the squad to the next level, and they've done the same for next year, which we're not going to get into just yet.
They have backed him, but then Huddersfield backed Watson. So you can't say, he's just succeeded because Hull KR.
But that's what I'm saying.
Huddersfield did the same for Watson, and it didn't work there.
I think that is a massive testament to Peters and what he's done. Because it's very impressive.
It'd have been so easy, wouldn't it, just to say, you know what, last year was a year we end up missing out, and then go missing. And they didn't. They come back and said, no, we go again. And not only do we go again, but we come back better. And I think it's really good.
Yeah. So let's go into this game. Obviously, we played the neighbours, Hull FC.
Talk about diametrically opposed.
Yeah. Remember, Hull FC, less than 10 years ago.
Back-to-back cup winners.
Back-to-back cup winners. Had a strong spine.
We beat them in the semi-final once. Usually if you beat Hull FC, you were a decent team. You know, they were a bit like the gatekeepers. If you wanted to be taken seriously, you had to beat Hull FC. They were good. Not amazing, but they were good.
Yeah.
That's definitely changed now.
Oh, definitely changed, yeah. You'd say that side now is Salford.
Yeah.
Yeah, Salford or Catalans. Maybe last year.
Catalans.
So this game, obviously, we win 22 points to 4. It was 10-4 at half-time. The tries for Wigan were Douglas, Farrimond, December and Eckersley. Kieran kicked 3 goals from 4. Jed Cartwright scored for Hull FC. 10-4 at half-time. What were your general thoughts on this game? Before we go into details and all this different stuff.
First thing I want to say, I love the Sunday game.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know you probably didn't mean that to answer your question. You were talking about the actual game, but I didn't know. I love the Sunday game. I'm a big fan of it. It was nice. We actually met up for it, didn't we? Went for some
dinner,
some dinner, some food out, had a couple of beers, and then walked down to the stadium. Obviously, you don't get a chance to do that Friday night and Thursday nights when you're working. It can be a bit of a rush. So I'm a big fan of the Sunday game. To answer your actual question, I was feeling okay. I sensed a bit of panic, I suppose, in the stadium, especially when we were sat. People, I don't know, like saying we're winning, but we're not performing good enough.
I was going to say, do you not think it felt a little bit weird before the game? The atmosphere felt weird to me.
So Sunday kick-off against Hull FC, I think it was a lot of people were still away on Bank Holiday weekend. I think it just felt like, here's a game we have to get out of the way. Yeah,
I felt like a banana skin to me. It felt like a potential slip up.
The bogey skin comes back.
But it did feel like it could have been one of them games. It could have been a slip up, and there was a little bit of nerves. Obviously, they beat us. How long ago was that now? 5-6 weeks?
Yeah.
So it felt a little bit nervy to me going into this game. Obviously, we get off to a brilliant start. Douglas scoring within 10 minutes, I think it was.
6 or 7, I think.
On his home debut.
Field just picks the perfect pass here.
Yeah. Go back to it. Obviously, Eckersley played full-back at 4 or 5 games. And a couple of times, especially at Warrington, at home, we had a couple of intercepts on that right side from Eckersley and Farrimond. That's just the experience of Field. Just to wait and pick the right pass.
Yeah, but 2 years ago, we would have been saying one of Field's weaknesses is throwing the interceptor. That's situation. It's something he's worked on.
Yeah.
Something he's
I'll
got.
come with that because of the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's my point. Really, is it's something that Field's got better at, and Eckersley will, and Farrimond will get better at.
That's what I was trying to get at. Obviously, that's the area of improvement for them. They've obviously got the very good rugby brain. They know the game inside and out.
Well, picking that right pass is the trickiest part, isn't it? Once you've making the overlap, anyone can make an overlap with a quick play of the ball and a bit of nice structure, but it's actually picking the right option once you've created the opportunity that's the difficult bit, and that's what people get paid the big money for.
I think they've got the right person. They've got the right guy to be learning off. You want to learn off anyone, it's off field. So the first half, obviously 10-4. Miskey didn't play. Completely brand new right hand side. Farrimond, Eckersley and Douglas.
Yep.
What did you make of us in that first half? At 10-4, we were talking, Lewis, at half time. A lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Probably a game that you could get away with it in. But for the nerves and for the... Felt to me like a game, if we just complete well, we probably win 30 points to 0, 30 points to 4, whatever it is, complete really well, and we'll run away with it in the end. I think we kept Hull FC in it a little bit, with mistakes, with errors.
I think you saw a Wigan team that didn't really get out of gear.
No.
But I also think that could be expected. I know people around us, again, I'll go back to that panic us and say, we play this against KI in a couple of weeks, we'll get beat. And I was like, but we won't play this against KI. Because you raise yourself up for big games, don't you?
You'll also have a
much stronger squad, and big games bring out big performances. Hull FC have been, I know there's all thing, they beat us, and we had one of the worst days we've ever had at the office when we went to their place. But sometimes when it's a kind of, I don't want to say complacent, but sometimes Matty Pete can't really get in that changing room before the game and say, these odds will be up for it today.
Yeah.
They're going to give you the game, that's got no credibility to it. So Hull KR is different. You know what I mean? So,
and it's not just that. And the reason I hate that comment as well, because you're completely right with what you said there, but the other reason is, look at the lineup that will face Hull KR. And this is obviously O'Neill and Isa, and probably Cooper as well, we'll put into one side. But you're going to add to this team Bevan French, Harry Smith, Liam Farrell, Cade Ellis, Abbas Miskey potentially. So 5 first teamers.
And Kieran goes back.
Kieran slots back into his favoured position. So you're adding basically 6 first teamers to that team out of 13. And then you're saying, well, if we play like this against Hull KR, well, we won't, will we?
No.
We won't, because we won't. Look at the players who scored the tries. They're all players who at the start of the season wouldn't have been in the lineup. They weren't in the lineup at the start of the season. Now, obviously, Nsemba's made his place earlier than the others, and Eckersley's had to play a lot of games. But really, therefore, what you would have said at the start of the season is reserves.
Maybe play 5 games.
Very young reserve players. Maybe Nsemba would have played more than that, but the others definitely wouldn't. Definitely wouldn't.
No,
so
can't disagree.
So 100% well done for Wigan to create these opportunities for these young players, and well done for them for taking it. But the lineup against Hull KR is going to be a lot stronger. The motivation, as you say, Lewis, will be a lot stronger against Hull KR.
The ground, the atmosphere.
Exactly. It makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. It's like a cycle. The fans don't see a perfect performance against Hull FC, so don't get behind the team as much. Whereas when against Hull KR, you need a good performance, they get behind the team more. Just you watch. Don't listen to people who sit around you, Lewis.
No, I don't.
When they say things like that.
I can't disagree with any of that.
There's lots of good, intelligent folk who go to watch rugby games, but some people say some things sometimes that make you wonder. And stuff like that, if we play like this against Hull KR, well, we just won't, will we? No. If you've got two eyes and you've been to a rugby match before, you know we won't.
Shall we move on to the second try scorer? Zach Eckersley, another... Obviously, you mentioned it then, all 4 try scorers have come through the academy in the last 18 months.
Yeah.
Of probably less than that if you think about when December made his debut at Leeds. And we talk about Field, brilliant pick out pass to Douglas. This time slightly different, hits his centre man.
I love this try.
Yeah,
I love this try.
Yeah.
I know on this podcast I'm known for loving a short ball to a second rower steaming onto it. That's become one of my things, but I do love this one. We always see the cut-out ball to the winger now who slides in the corner. But I think actually to cut out a flat pass to the centre with the face ball... Sorry, for this to cut out the second rower with a face ball to the centre, not even going for the long one to the winger.
But it's that recognition that we talked about from Field. To see Hull FC's winger dealing with Douglas, he realises that the overload must be around that centre.
Oh, if he throws the face ball to Douglas, there's a potential it's intercepted.
Yeah.
The winger at least gets a hand on it, and maybe it's a repeat set, but we've not scored.
But then to just hit Eckersley, and I have no doubt in my mind that if Eckersley's being dealt with by the winger, it hits the same pass to Douglas that he hit 10 minutes earlier. It's that recognition, and that's where he's so brilliant. Obviously, people have been talking about the fact he's not got the tries he's got in the past 2 seasons. But his assists and his managing of the game has definitely improved. It's definitely been his focal point this year. That takes it to 10-0. Kieran converts it after 20 minutes. Hull FC score on the 27th minute, 7 minutes later. Make it 10 points to 4. And again, they just use the hands. A bit of a step back inside. And score from that Jed Cartwright.
I like the look of him.
Yeah.
He's a big lad and he's an absolute monster.
He's still very young. Is he 21, 22?
No, 27. Only 6 years off. He's the coach's son, the new coach. He's his son.
I didn't realise he was that old.
Yeah, 27.
I think with this try they played before, did us?
Yeah.
They made a big break downfield, so our defensive plan was at 6 and 7.
We caught the break. I think it was a pretty poor defence to let them break in the first place.
Yeah.
But when we caught up to it, Field and Lehman caught up to it and they stood at marker and then they both sprinted towards this side. And I think it needed I honestly think it needed one of them to go early.
Yeah.
And risk the offside call. And just leave one marker. Because there was no way they were going to go left.
No.
With all the numbers right.
But again, what's really interesting with this, if you look at the try and the build-up, we do get back and get numbers back on the line.
Yeah, we do, but they're all shifting. The bodies are still moving.
I do think they'd have been offside and whatever, but we managed to number up, and then it's a really good step from Cartwright to realise everyone's out of position and not really settled. But if they go through the hands, there's every chance that we can defend it. And
it's not a great. It's a bad miss on the line.
Yeah.
But bodies are still moving.
And you can understand why.
I think you've got to credit Hull there. Wigan's poor defence was letting them break. Once they've made the break, you've got to credit the execution.
Killer instinct
to score off the back of it. To be clinical.
Yeah. Takes it to 10-4 at half-time. One thing I thought that was worth mentioning about this, Luke Thompson definitely did a bit of a shorter spell.
His first
in this
spell,
first half.
Yes.
I think he came off just after the second try. 20 minutes, where we're used to seeing him actually go to 30, 35, and then coming back on with 30 left and playing a big 60 minutes.
He changed the game, though.
Yeah.
He absolutely changed the game.
He came back on early.
He was on for them. He came back on, and we were struggling. And I was thinking, if they score, level it to 10-10, that could be making for an interesting 25 minutes. He came back on. We immediately scored 2 more tries.
We just got a foothold again, I think.
And then he went off again. So it was brilliant play from him, really. He never gets the headlines because he's not going to finish off the try in the corner or put the pass on. But he gets us on the front foot. And there's no substitution for getting your team on the front foot.
No.
Aside from 100-metre break, how else are you going to score?
Yeah.
You've got to get your team on the front foot to score.
It's much easier to score in their half.
You've got to give
Their
Field
ball.
that platform to play those two nice balls. You've got to give Nsemba the platform to charge on from 5 metres out and score.
Well, let's talk about that try. A little bit of afters after the try. We'll talk about that in a second. But Lehman out to, I think it was Kieran.
Yeah, Kieran put it on.
Drops Nsemba back off on the inside. And if anyone's defending one-on-one against Junior in that position, that close to the line, don't get me wrong, it was the really young fullback. What's the fullback's name? Is it Moy?
Moy.
And he's not the biggest.
He had a few nice moments, Moy, with the ball, but he made a business decision in defence, not tackling Junior.
Yeah. Nsemba finishes it really, really well.
They might have been better placed, not sprinting out of line and putting shots on people who don't have the ball. The defensive line might have been a bit more set then, because it's exactly where that lad ran out and smashed Dupree. That's exactly where Nsemba scored.
Yeah.
Maybe you're better off just defending as a line then, instead of going off putting on shots on people.
Trying to solve a problem that's not there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
while you mentioned that, obviously Dupree gets hit without the ball. You can't. I don't think that you can call it late. He never got it.
No.
Hit on
Gets-
suspicion.
Yeah,
He was hit on suspicion. It was clobbered on suspicion. Never mind hit on suspicion.
He does get flattened. Doctors do his stuff, and once he gets the all clear, I love the fact that he then went after him. I don't know what Dupree was expecting to happen. We'd already scored.
I do think it should have been some kind of check.
I think it should have been a yellow. Given,
of course it should have
given
been yellow.
that Mago got a yellow 10 minutes later.
You hit somebody late and there's flexion of the neck, it's a yellow. So why wouldn't it be if you hit somebody without the ball and it's a flexion of neck? I don't know why that wouldn't be a yellow also.
Has the blow... Who did it got that, or has it just been missed?
Leon Ruan.
Has he been banned? Or...
No, he's not been banned, no. Not even fined.
Right, it was on nothing. They've just missed it. Oh, so there's nothing wrong.
Conveniently missed it, I think.
To be honest, I
Well,
thought,
the ref, I can understand why the ref missed it because he was watching the ball.
Yeah, he's watching.
But it should have been picked up by somebody else.
but to be honest, I had a feeling, that you know when you get a bad feeling, that Dupree was going to get picked up after for running in and starting something.
Well, I thought he might give them both a yellow card.
Yeah. So neither have been picked up, which for us, I probably take as a positive. Really, we don't play Hull FC again. It's not going to affect us. Him playing the next game. So I will take that as a bit of a. If they both get off, I'm happy. Obviously, Mago then gets sin-binned. £250 fine. It was. I'm right. No game ban. He's been fined. I'm really glad about that. I thought it was soft.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
But in between these next two tries, Liam Marshall goes off. Now there was a moment of panic
When
Marshall decided to.
Well, we missed a tackle. We missed another tackle, didn't we?
We missed another tackle. They both come. Wardle's sort of hanging on, trying to deal with it. It was interesting technique from Marshall to headbutt Jake Wardle.
Well, it's friendly fire.
Yeah.
It's actually turned into the biggest problem, I think, now in the league. And it's not one they can solve with yellow cards and red cards, which it certainly helped the high shots, because there's not as many high shots as there used to be. It's the friendly fire.
Yes.
Two blokes tackle a guy, and he actually just sprinted through, and they crash heads with each other. I don't know how you can stop that.
No. But at this point, I can't lie. 16 points to 4. And I thought we'd lost our left side. When they were both on the floor, I thought both of them were going.
And they're both standing down for 11 days and missing Catalan.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw the worst happening. I can't lie. To see Jake Wardle get up, and obviously Liam Marshall go off for HIA, I've got to say, do you not think when you see a player have blood on the face, it's a bit of a
It's
relief?
usually a good sign, yeah.
It's usually a good sign that it's more of a cosmetic thing.
It's a cut eyebrow. It's
his
not a
face,
heading,
yeah.
It's not a concussion or
Yeah,
something, yeah.
Which
His face, not
sounds
his-
really weird to
Oh, it
say.
does sound
It's
weird.
glad that you're bleeding from your head. But it lowers the chance of it being a concussion for me.
Well, you're bleeding's not as bad as a concussion.
Interesting change here. and worth mentioning because they then stuck with it. Jake Wardle went to the right-hand side.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit closer to the field than you, and I heard Sean O'Loughlin ran on and shouted, "Jake, right centre, pal."
Obviously, Eckersley was playing on the right centre. He was the obvious choice to go onto the wing.
Yeah.
Jake Wardle being one of the best centres in the league, if not the best.
Right centre, pal.
Has to play the centres. But everyone's initial thought would have been that Walters slides out. It's usually what happens. Your second row goes to your centre.
Well, I don't know why I was thinking. I was thinking so many pieces were going to move. When he initially went off, I was thinking, right, okay, Wardle to the wing, Kieran to centre, Lehman to halves, forward to 9. I was thinking, that's way too many changes. And then I thought, no, that's just daft. Just put Walters in centre.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
No, I went through the same thing. But obviously Luke Thompson it seems to be the forward that goes out to the second row.
He can do anything.
Second row.
Thompson can do anything. Do you not see him running when that offload came to him?
Oh,
he's sprinting right. He was sprinting backward. He was like a punter in the NFL. He was making people miss. It's a prop forward.
Yeah, but he seems to be the one that solves that problem of if we didn't have a second row on the bench that we didn't this week. Previous weeks we've had Walters.
Yeah.
Thompson is the one that goes out there. Probably because of the fact of how long he can do. Shall we go on to the last try?
Yes.
Before we move on and talk about everything else. We can make a bit of a break and get tackled on the right-hand side. And then I just want to talk about Cruz Lehman. He's a different type of 9 to Brad O'Neill. He's not a 9 that we've seen at Wigan a lot before. We've not had a running 9 probably since Mickey Iron. With the likes of McElaurum and then Powell and Brad. And it's took a lot of getting used to and a lot of players learning how to play with him. And I think that's still happening. I think they're still learning.
I think he's also still like any running 9. Lewis always mentions this. You want to bring him off the bench if you can.
Yeah.
If you can bring him off the bench, then that's just a good luxury. He's not as effective, or any running 9 is usually not as effective when they have to come on from the beginning of the match.
It's one of the things I think people sometimes, I think it's easy to do because they play in the same position, but I think 9 is very much where you can have 2 different styles of 9, isn't it? And if you go in a set for set kind of slug out, you want Brad O'Neill in there. And if you've got like a high pace kind of end-to-end game, there's breaks and it's very high pace, high energy, you probably want Cruz in there. So I think it's definitely, but it's nice that we've got luxury of having both.
Yeah, and Hull KR have had that 1-2 punch for years with Parcell and Litton. Warrington have got Powell and Walker, different styles.
Especially interesting with
St Helens have kind of just got Clark.
Yeah.
Making Clark do 80 minutes. Is he as good as he would have been if he only had to play 50 or 60? Probably not.
Middle of the season, they did spell him with Mbai, didn't they?
Yeah, but Mbai had to be used in different positions, so they've not got that really. And I would say as well, you haven't got that sort of variety with Mbai and Clark.
Yes.
As you do with some of those other duos.
Well, this try, obviously we get tackled on the right-hand side. Ball comes out to Cruz Lehman at first receiver.
Yeah.
And this is very, very underrated what he does, but it's very easy to just go, we've been tackled on one side, let's hit him on the other wing. And we've got 3 big passes and try and score in the corner. But
I was screaming for him to straighten up.
Yeah.
As soon as he steps off that left foot and goes right, it's a try, guaranteed. Because you not only have you got, because all the defence is moving from right to left as you look at it, so from the left to right. As soon as you move right, you've then got Farrimond and the guy who played the ball and the guy who was in at 9.
Yeah.
You've got them all then lined up, ready to have. It's basically 4-on-2.
And the fullback's already bombed it.
Exactly.
He's trying to get a head start.
So it's so clever to spot that. I mean, I could spot it sitting up in the stand, but it must be so difficult when you're actually looking at it with your own two eyes.
People staying alive, isn't it? The person who played the ball in the 9, not just thinking, right, that's it, I've passed the ball, or I've played the ball, my job's done, it's right, actually stay alive, run backwards, because they might be coming this way.
Make an option, even if you don't get the ball.
That's really important to mention. Obviously, Farrimond is the guy that ends up scoring, and he was already behind to play the ball. But if it had just been Farrand, if it had just been him by himself, he then can't throw the dummy and step.
There was a try, I'm going back a few years now, there was a try Jackson Hastings scored. I can't remember what year it was. He was only here for 2 years, wasn't he? But French set him up. And it was against Hull KR, and Sean Kennedy bought a dummy. And French was returning a kick, and he went in and out, made the fullback look like a bit of a mug and put Hastings over through the middle. And everyone was praising French and Hastings, and rightly so. But I noticed that Jake Bibby had sprinted back to be onside to get an option for French to even throw the dummy. So without Bibby working extremely hard to get back behind the man with the ball, Kenny Dell doesn't buy the dummy and we don't score.
Yeah.
So sometimes...
He'd be throwing a dummy to no one.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes...
Which has worked for him before.
Yeah, I suppose it's no guarantee that he would have been tackled actually, given French's dummy record. But actually, sometimes working really hard to become an option opens it up for somebody else, even when you don't get the ball.
Yeah. And obviously, both Waddle and Douglas do that.
Yeah.
Then Farrimond is dealing with a 3-on-1.
Yeah, you can do whatever he wants, Farrimond. At that point, you can do whatever he wants and still score.
Yeah. Goes in, scores, Wigan kick the goal, 22-4. And that's it's game over at that point.
Second match.
Once it got to a 3-try lead.
Apart from Douglas bombing to try.
Yeah. That,
Nearly scored. Nearly scored again, didn't he?
But we talked about it in the last few weeks, winning games and then just being able to almost cruise to the end of a game. You mentioned it, Matty, in the league game on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
Not going to put points on, not going to put a big score on.
No.
And there's pros and cons to both, but especially when you've got this injury situation that we have and you're prepping for the playoffs. Just getting through games and winning and actually not having to give everything.
Seems like we're in a period of waiting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We're waiting for the injuries to come back so we can say, right, no, we kick on.
Yeah.
No, we get ready for the playoffs once everyone's back. And it's hard for Matty Pete off because he used to go to job saying, no, we're not waiting. We've got a game. We've got Catalans away. Like, you need to get. We're not waiting. You're stagnant. You'll get turned over here. So.
And Matty Pete is big on earning the right to play, isn't he? I remember that game we went to 2 years ago at Wakefield, where we had the game wrapped up 30 points to 6, and we started throwing the ball around the last 20 minutes and it didn't come off. And Pete was furious, and we were really happy with the game because we'd won. Challenge Cup quarter final, 30 points to 6. Jay Field hat trick. French was coming back. Yeah, everything was looking rosy, but he wasn't impressed because
we tried to cheat the game.
We tried to cheat the game towards the end, and we tried to throw the ball around and score a magic Harlem Globetrotters style try, which is not the way he wants to score tries.
No.
So I think he'll be pleased with that last 20 minutes, really. All told.
He'll be pleased with the game.
Probably. I'd probably made too many mistakes for him. He looked a bit... Well, I don't think he looked too impressed at full time. He looked a bit reserved when he spoke at full time to John Wells. Like he looked a bit reserved, like he wasn't all that impressed with the performance, but he was just taking it.
Well, that's what I mean. He's not going to be happy making 10 errors.
No. He's
not going to be happy that we threw the ball in touch twice. That we might not have ended our sets particularly well sometimes.
We missed a lot of tackles as well.
But if you ask him, you get an 18-point win.
Oh,
no injuries.
You would have shut your hand at 9 a.m.
Yeah, no injuries.
Yeah, no injuries, no suspensions.
Move on to next week.
Yeah.
He'd probably snatch your hand off.
I think he definitely would snatch your hand off for that, yeah.
So, that leaves us with Catalan coming up.
Yeah, Catalan away, never an easy fixture.
This is probably one of the games that they've got to rise now. And we did a similar thing.
We've got 4 tricky games left, make no mistake. I know 3 of them are at home, but we've got 4 tricky games left.
But I look at Catalan. Catalan have got a lot to fight for.
All 4 teams have.
And looking at that, this is where you've now got to put your foot down a little bit. I think Wigan will be looking to just start flexing that we're playing better rugby. We're back in the swing of things. We're getting back to what we were at the start of the season. We obviously started the season red hot, prepping for the challenge. Prepping for World Cup challenge. and then Challenge Cup, and we played probably our best rugby all season in them first 10 to 12 weeks. I think we're going to see us start pushing to get back to that now.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I think again it's going to be a difficult fixture. I think Cashland will see it as if we can beat Wigan, that'll be the kickstart into the playoffs.
Yeah, well, if they win their home games, they're likely to have a home game in the playoffs, which is massive for them. So I think they'll really want to take care of business at home, which is obviously a tough place to go and win.
Yeah. Important. Right. We'll take a break and then we'll come back and talk some more rugby. So, we've got a few things to talk about now. Bit of a set of six. We'll start off with the Eyecatchers. Matty, what's caught your eye this week, mate?
My eyecatcher is to do with the vacant Huddersfield Giants head coach role, and Luke Robinson is currently interim. Now, the guy in charge of picking a new coach is called Richard Thewlis, and he said that they've had lots of applications. The application deadline was the second week of August. They've had lots of applicants from around the rugby league world. They've all said sort of the same thing, which is Huddersfield got loads of potential, loads of good young players. They just need a push in the right direction, which, I don't know, you could argue that's fair enough. But he's also said that this was the interesting thing, that the reason they've had this long to pick the next coach is because Luke Robinson's doing such a fine job as interim. And Robinson also has said he wants the job full time, so what do we think? Should it be Robinson or...
I don't think so.
No.
Just because the results haven't massively changed. Like, they've not massively got better, and they've had some bad results in it. But I think they need something away from Watson. I think they should definitely keep Robinson on as assistant if he'd want to do that. But I just think if there's someone there that could come in and really make a change, and I don't know who's available and who's put the applications in.
No.
But just a bit of a change, something different. And let's freshen things up, bring some new people in, bring some new ideas in. Because a lot of Robinson's time has been with Watson. I can see him learning a lot from him. Maybe just a change, something a bit different would be my thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. It's I think it's no job forever comes in at Huddersfield.
Yeah,
They've kind of got players who's been signed on big, I would assume big wage packets, because they have got good players in the squad, but they're not gelling as a team. As a club, they're struggling. They really struggle to get numbers through the door. They're in a stadium that's massively too big for them. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be an hard first coaching job for Robinson. That
the other thing with that is it's not the name of like a Leeds, for example. Like Brad Arthur has been attracted because it's Leeds.
What do you think?
I don't think Huddersfield can. Do you think Brad Arthur will come to Huddersfield?
Not well. No, probably not.
Where Leeds have been successful, you've got to get them back up on that level. Huddersfield have consistently been poor.
be interesting to see who's put the application in though.
Yeah, he didn't give much away. He just said a variety of applicants from around the rugby league world, so obviously not giving anything away.
No, it would be interesting to see.
Lewis, what's caught your eye, mate?
Eyecatchers come in the Saints and Hull KR game, or after the Saints and Hull KR game to be more precise. Paul Williams' post-match comments caught my eye this week. So, very unbalanced, like what I've seen. He normally holds his players in quite high regard and says, they're a very honest group of players, an honest group of men. They know the standards and stuff. And he come out after the game, kind of acknowledged the fact they had a lot of young players who put a shift in, and they had the young half back on debut. Whitby, is it?
Whitby,
George Whitby, is that sort of thing. And he says, but our senior players need to. He actually said in one of them, I remember him saying, which got me, and I went, wow, maybe they've had too much success. These senior players was what he said, and I thought, wow, that is a big statement. Now there is with this as well. His team's just got battered at all in front of their own fans, and you go and shove a microphone in his face.
Yeah.
It probably needs a couple of days. We record this podcast not straight after the game, normally on a Tuesday night or something, to give us time to soak in the result, whatever that may be, and calm down if it's a loss and look at things rationally. He has since, I know you looked at this before, Tom, didn't you? A bit of an article. He's kind of retracted those comments, hasn't he?
He said it was a learning curve for him. He shouldn't have said what he said. He is right to hold people to account, but the way that he said it, some of them players are playing injured, some of them are playing with knocked up and things like that, which I get.
And he's an experienced head coach. He's not been in the job long, so maybe this is a learning curve for him.
The only thing I'm going to say, Lewis, and I forgot about this, and it's just hit me. This was was this in his interview with Sky?
Yes.
Obviously, Darryl Powell did a similar thing last year, and we commented on him doing that. Powell never came back and said he was wrong.
No.
I think Wellens had to make this statement today, and he's done it pre-match or whatever, that I got it wrong. What do you think about interviewing coaches immediately after a game?
It's a part of the match, isn't it? It's a part of a lot of sport, really.
But for me, you think of the Premier League. They never really interview them straight away.
It's not straight away. And
they go into the changing rooms, have a chat, and then come out.
That's the same in the NRL. But then the show is on for a lot longer after the final whistle in those. Whereas in Super League, it feels like the match finishes, then they've got 5 minutes to sort of recap.
Speak to the man of the match.
They speak to the man of the match, they speak to 2 coaches, and then it's off the air. And that's probably only in case it goes to extra time.
I think the thing is why you made the comparison with Darryl Powell at Wire. That was very interesting because he called out his players and a couple of weeks after went back on it.
Yeah.
Didn't admit he was wrong, but just kind of said, I don't think we're too bad. I think we're in a positive place. It was like you just called them all out.
But he didn't. Yeah, you're right though. He didn't say he was wrong first time. He just pretended that he thought something
nothing had happened.
Yeah, he pretended he thought something different. Yeah.
Whereas Wellens, he has done it before actually, and this season as well, where he said, I don't think some players understand what this shirt means. So
you say it like it means more to some players than it does to others.
Something like that. I was like, people don't understand what this shirt brings with it, or something along those lines. But it's twice this season, and had some bad results, and he has acknowledged, they do have the injury problems. We've talked about this in another episode as well. But just caught my eye, that one. Interesting when a coach does that, I think. See where it goes. Yeah. What's caught your eye, Tom?
Is the report of the Gold Coast Titans apparently over here scouting. They were at the Magic Weekend.
Yeah.
It's the perfect time to scout these players. They're all at the same venue. They've all got the same conditions. You don't have to particularly say, well, I went to such and such a place and it was raining, cats and dogs, and I didn't get to see the halfbacks.
Yeah, I suppose.
And then you see a halfback somewhere else on a sunny day and you get to see his attacking flair. So it's a controlled environment. You get to see everyone. Under pressure as well because big crowds, so you can't say they've played somewhere with an easy crowd. All the teams are meant to be matched up against decent level opponents. But the thing that caught my eye is obviously the Newcastle Knights came over here at the start of last year, picked up Piers Paul, picked up Will Price. The Raiders have been over here plenty of times before. Looking for English talent. Obviously, they sit just outside of Sydney, Melbourne. They don't particularly have a massive influx of players coming from around there, and if they're competing to move players away from Sydney, it's expensive. So they've looked towards England, they've looked towards other parts of Australia. I think this is going to happen an awful lot more, and soon. They're going to bring an 18th team into the NRL. They're going to then bring up to 20.
Yeah.
And how many more players can they get from the Pacific Islands? How many more can they get from New Zealand? How many more top quality players can they get from Australia? Because they're already talking that there's a shortage of halves. There's not enough halfbacks. So that's just one position, for example. But how many prop forwards can you find? How many second rowers can you find? You need 3-4 a game. So I think we're going to see an influx of British talent, at least being scouted by NRL teams. So today, Melbourne have re-signed Joe Chan, who's gone out to Melbourne and been quite a hit.
Yeah, they like him, don't they?
Yeah. And they're looking at getting these players younger and younger so they can build them into the type of player that they want.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be an awful lot of our younger players going out there soon.
Yeah, and I think there's two sides to this. I think there's the side, we want to keep our young talent in our competition, which I understand. And we could open up another debate which could take on for ages about that. But the positive side of this is actually how far our games come. Because I remember a point in time where the NRL would have very much turned the nose up at English and said, no, there's no way they'll cut it over here. Because the rugby's not the same. English rugby's not up to par for Australian rugby. So the fact that now they're coming over scouts, I think, can actually dip our toe in the UK market is...
But for me, that's why they're going young.
Well, there's been a pretty good... there's a pretty good track record if you look back over the last 15, 20 years. So, particularly with forwards. You think about the esteem Sam Burgess is held in.
Yeah.
His brothers, Gareth Ellis, Matt Flanagan, Elliot Whitehead, Josh Hodgson, guys who've gone over the...
Bateman.
And I wouldn't say unheralded, because obviously Bateman and Burgess, at least Sam Burgess, were tipped for big things, but they weren't exactly taking the superstars. They were both young guys when they went over. And, I think...
we did.
Very young guy who was there. And so I think, actually, there's a track record now. Yeah. They might try and dip the toe in the water, as you say, a bit more often.
To add to that, obviously, George Williams being a bit of a success. I know he didn't do long enough there, really, and they probably hold that against him. But we never really had a half go out there and do particularly well.
No, outside backs now, you've got Dom Young they've swooped for, and he's doing really well.
The guy, what's the name from guy from Wakefield who's at the Roosters now?
Murphy.
Yeah, they've signed him young.
Yeah.
No shot of the week this week. Not one that's caught our eye.
Well, there was one, but we forgot who it was by.
Yeah.
That one in the Leeds game, but we forgot who did it. So, unfortunately, the set of six has fallen flat on his first one because
we kicked early on the fifth.
We kicked early because we forgot who did that big shot in the Leeds game. If you were watching that Leeds game and you know which shot we're on about, then
please tell us.
Write to us because it's driving us insane.
But we have got a try of the week.
Oh yeah,
Nicarima at Salford.
Nicarima.
3 or 4 steps on the line. Just one of them that you're disappointed to concede. But if your team scores it, you see the magic in it. Some brilliant piece of works from a player who's really settled in at Salford now.
Yeah, he was speaking after the game about how well he's settled into Salford and how his little lad loves it there already, and the crowd have taken to him, and he really appreciates that. And I think for a guy like him, obviously he made a big mistake, and it cost him his contract with Catalan, but he's got a second chance, and I think we all believe his second chance is done, and it's good to see him taking his second chance with both hands.
Yeah,
with Salford, and that they were crying out for somebody like him. So I think it's worked out for.
He's basically been a cross replacement, hasn't
he? Cross or Cust.
Croft. Sorry.
Oh, Croft. Yeah, well,
they replaced it with Cust, and Cust has been injured and then played at 9. That little bit of an X factor to go alongside Sneed.
Yeah, good for him. It's worked out for both parties, hasn't it?
Yeah. Player of the week. Can only go to one player, really.
Yeah, I can this week.
Joe Burgess, 4 tries against Saints. 4 tries seems to be what gets you in.
Well, I was just going to say that. We've only picked the player of the week three times, and twice it's been someone who scored 4 tries. It's not that common for someone to score 4 tries.
No.
But it has happened twice in the past few weeks.
And one was a fantastic finish from Budgie, to be fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
he settled in there and made that right wing spot his own, because he played left wing for us, didn't he? For the majority of it.
And he was with Gildart on that left hand side, and now Gildart's still left, but Burgess is right, which is fair play to him. It's going to be interesting what they do next year, because Hall's leaving.
Well, Davis' replacement's a right winger, isn't he?
Yeah, so I assume Burgess is going to go to the left.
Yeah.
But it's not common that you can play both so well, so
there's not many.
That's really good if Burgess can move back to the left now seamlessly. If he strikes up that partnership with Gildart again, watch out,
Right. that wraps up that set of 6 or 5 with an early kick. We'll be back in a second. So round 23 of Super League, as we said before, coming towards the end of the season, pressure time. There are 4 or 5 teams in that middle section from 4 to 8 that you've really got to keep an eye out. Salford, Saints, Catalan, Leon, Leeds, all pushing now after this week. They've all within 2 points.
They're all going for 3 spots, aren't they?
Yeah, it's going to be 5 into 3. But let's start off on Friday. There was no Thursday game, a little bit disappointing. But Leeds Catalan, Friday. Catalan took an early lead, held that lead at half time, 6-0 from a scrum, a nice scrum play. Love a good scrum play, but apart from that, they looked.
This was good. They didn't set the scrum up in the middle either.
No,
which is what I usually do. But I think then obviously you defend scrums from the middle in practice. So yeah, good.
Just moving it around,
moving it to the side, and they set that up nicely and got the centre in, wasn't it?
What I loved about this is they didn't play anyone on the short side. And Leeds have to commit a winger there.
Yeah.
Do you leave that side completely open?
They weren't brave enough to leave the side completely open. No. I think it's a good move.
So do I.
Bit of a bluff, bit of a how brave are you situation.
And that obviously creates the overlap. The overlap.
The overman lap.
You know what I mean. The overlap in the corner. But other than that, they looked pretty toothless, Catalan.
Yeah, same old for the last few months. Catalan, they've not had enough in attack.
They defended quite well in this game.
I don't think they gave up. I just don't think they were good enough.
Well, they gave up last time, didn't they, in the Magic Weekend?
Yeah.
So they would have been get up. I think you probably would have got a railroad this week about giving up. Which at least they didn't give up. I don't think they gave up this time.
Just for me, it was mad that the game went to 10-6 in the 60th minute. Then it went 14-6 just before 70. And I went to game 1. They can't score 2 tries.
Yeah, that's the thing, is they can stick in games sometimes. Like this game is stuck in, but just...
I just thought, if it gets to 2 tries, they can't
When
win.
were they going to score 3 tries? I just couldn't see it.
Good win for Leeds, though. Important win against someone that they're competing with. You seen any improvements from Leeds with Brad Arthur?
From Leeds? They've certainly improved, yeah. Yeah, they've definitely improved since he came in.
Yeah, are they a
I
top
would
6
agree.
side?
This year, they might have just had too much to do, but I think they probably are.
The way they've played out, I think they're a
played in
team
the last
that's
6 weeks, yeah.
that finishes 5-6. Probably get an away draw. Right, on Friday there was another game on at the same time. Castleford against Warrington. Warrington win 28 points to 6. Again, was close. Half time was 8-0 to Warrington. Went to 14-0 and 14 points to 6. And Cass got themselves back in it. But if we're being honest, probably didn't have enough in the tank. I think Warrington cruised to this in the end. Castleford, they were okay. But for me, they just ran out of steam.
Cass stuck in it, which I guess you can...
A team that's finishing in the bottom 4.
They stuck at it.
And they've done that a lot this season.
They have. Which they didn't
Stuck
do
into
previously.
games and made them close and put up a fight. And I think that'll be impressive. Castleford supporters and the staff, I think they'll accept not going to win a grand final. They've not got the strongest squad on paper, but they're certainly doing proud by sticking in games and not going missing.
I think actually that I think that will have led to a greater connection between the Cass Tigers and their fans.
Yeah.
And the coaching staff and the fans.
You can get behind it, can you?
They didn't really get behind the last couple of administrations because maybe they didn't have that fighting spirit. Whereas now, you genuinely think, even if they're playing somebody good, they could turn them over because they're going to give it everything.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have at the start of the season.
No, not at all. Right, 2 games on Saturday. First of all, we're going to go over to St Helens. This was a bad loss.
This was Burgess 4 tries, wasn't it? What we were just talking about earlier.
42 points to 6. This is really, really poor. Now, you can say what you want about injuries. They did get Lomax back.
Lomax was back from his suspension. Yeah.
But again, I was surprised to see that they brought the young lad in, Whitby, after not giving him a go the week before at Magic, to then say we're bringing Lomax back, obviously from his suspension.
Well, it didn't work at Magic, so I was saying last week to give him a chance.
I just think
You got to. If it didn't work last week, you got to try him.
I just think they should have been trying him for the last 2-3 weeks.
Well, but they should have done. But then, still, the right decision is still to bring him in for this one.
Was this good from KR? Or does it show how bad Saints have been?
Both, I think.
Both. Yeah. I think you've got to give KR credit whilst also acknowledging Saints struggling at the minute.
Yeah, I think so.
2 wins in the last 9 for Saints.
Oh, is that what it is? Is that what it is? Goodness me.
They beat Hull FC and Salford 3 weeks ago and 4 weeks ago. But they
Salford
lost
was
5 in
in
5.
Salford was in Golden Point.
Yeah, but they lost 5 in 5 before that.
Yeah.
And then Wigan and Hull.
Yeah.
Do you think Saints make the playoffs?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll fall into 6. We were trying to work it out, weren't we, before the game on Sunday, yeah. We were trying to work it out.
I think they're just falling.
I think they get 30 points, which is enough in this league to get you into the playoffs.
But that's really worrying. From a side that I know they've had injuries, but they've got players back.
Well, they have been hit hard with injuries, and they've also had poor squad planning, which comes with once you've had a real period of success and you've managed to keep all your players, when they sort of come to the end, you haven't got enough money to replace them properly, and you haven't got enough money to change them all at once, which happened to Leeds and has happened to Saints.
They've not evolved, have they? That's the thing.
No, but when you win, when you're on a run, when you're
why would you
4 in a row,
change? You winning
exactly.
formula, yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? If Wigan start to go on a sort of a similar period of dominance, and we keep the NRL hyenas at bay, then I wouldn't really complain with not regenerating either. If you're going to win 4 in a row, win now. Don't think about regenerating. Win now and have a couple of off years. I just still think that's the right way to do it. And if you asked any Saints fan, would you finish 3rd or 4th in one of those ones you won to try and be up there again this year? I doubt they'd say yes.
So you saying you wouldn't take... So they won 4 in a row. Win 2, finish in the top 4 in the others.
And still be 2nd or 3rd now. I wouldn't take that deal now.
And actually have a chance of winning it.
I wouldn't take that deal now. And the reason I wouldn't take it now is because I would trust the teams who we're talking about here are Saints and Leeds who've had this happen to them, and Wigan could potentially have it in the next few years. I trust all 3 of those clubs to make it back in a couple of years.
Won since, when was it, 17?
Yeah, but that was after the golden generation had finished, and they still made the final in 2022. So I would trust Saints, especially.
There's something about squad management.
Would you trust Saints to get back to having a proper squad in a couple of years?
Yeah, but
would you trust Wigan? Because their academies are excellent, and they're going to always produce high-end talent. So I would always trust those teams to get back to it. It'll just take a few years. It'll take Saints' best players retiring and being replaced, but the problem is they're all doing it at once.
But this is it now. You look at Wigan in this situation. If they keep Willie Isa, Cooper, Ryan Hampshire, you then aren't going to allow a Junior December, an Ethan Havard.
True. But you got to make that decision. You've got to either win now or...
And that's where you've got to look at your squad management of saying, listen, I'm not saying that Saints team that won 4 in a row should have binned off 5 players after the second one. But bring some new blood in. The best teams in the NRL are constantly bringing in 2 players a season. Letting someone go.
St Helens did that though.
Young blood as well, I think.
But young
new
players.
blood, but yeah. I think really in that period of dominance, there's only Wellesby who's come through.
Yeah.
Who, don't get me wrong, he's a very, very good one. But
and the other young half, Dodd.
He was always getting through. Wells was always getting through, wasn't he?
You got maybe Dodd, but then Dodd's out of sorts now.
And he's leaving.
We'll talk about this in the news in the next segment, but they've gone and signed a player today, but it's another 32-year-old winger. We'll talk about the next segment. It's a bit like, you need to evolve. I think the difference is Wigan we are going through a bit of a period now where we've had some success. But look at our signings. It's
That signing
Walters,
of-
it's Tiaki Chan, it's
hear-
people who are going to grow and evolve. The
Sam
squad as
Walters.
well.
The Sailor
Walters,
signing, the Sailor signing needed to be 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Not obviously Sailor, but the equivalent player.
A 25-year-old to come in and play now and be effective and want to win.
But the problem is finding those people for the right price.
It is, yeah.
It's tough to
But
find.
you hear about it all the time with Wigan. Bradlinski's got the board in his office about what the squad's going to look
They'll
like.
have that. They'll have that. No, don't
25,
kid yourself.
26.
Saints
No,
will have that.
I'm not. But is that looking exactly the same in 25, 26, 27? Or are they going to replace 2 players? Or are Wigan going to end up with a squad that's 30 all at the same time? You've just got to be clever. Look at the length of contracts that people have got. Look at Wigan. We talked about it the other week about the spread out of the contracts when they run out, and then renewing the right ones. You've got to manage better than this. You can't. I don't think you can have such a fall off, because this is a bad fall off. To miss the playoffs potentially. I know they've not yet. It's a big fall off. And one thing to mention in this game. Tommy Makinson got a 3-game ban for a red card, on appeal down to 2. And I've got a bit of a bugbear about it, and I've spoke to you both about it before, but it's worth mentioning. For years we've craved, and social media and fans have said, we just want consistency. One, you can't get consistency because there's people involved. Refs make decisions. Things happen. They're always slightly different. But because we wanted consistency, we've ended up in the situation now of almost tick list refereeing. Is there any mitigation? Where's his shoulder hit? Is he off his feet? And if you look at all the bans and the red cards, Makinson's tackle suits a red card tackle. He's off his feet. It's direct to the head. It's shoulder. That's a red card and a 3-4 game ban.
I suppose there's a bit of consistency because they have been red cards this season.
Yeah.
But then everyone looked at it. I looked at it at the time and didn't even realise what it was. I didn't even realise that's what he'd been red carded for.
I think the reason why, and the best thing about this clip, is because May gets up and plays his ball.
He tries to, anyway.
You're right.
This is how it actually
Stay
should
down
be,
and
though.
hold his head, and like we've been saying the last couple of weeks,
This
he
is how it
gets
should
up,
be.
plays his ball, and says to the ref, no, I'm okay.
The ref or the video ref stops it, not the players.
You're 100% right. But I look at it and I go, we've cried for consistency. This tackle got 1 game, but that's got 3. And now we're asking refs to have common sense when they're not allowed to. They can't judge something. If anyone judged that tackle off Makinson, they say, it's not that bad. It might get a 1-game ban. But instead now, we're criticising refs for doing what we wanted. And I just think it's completely unfair. Really do. Right, next game, should we jump over? So, Salford Huddersfield, 60 points to 10. Luke Robinson wants the job. This is not the performance to get it.
You can say that again.
This is really bad by Huddersfield.
This is giving up. I mentioned giving up before. This is giving up.
It is, yeah.
We should give Salford some credit. They played well. If you put 60 points on a team, you played well. Right? And they scored some brilliant tries, and they scored length of the Ritfield tries, and all different types, kicks, whatever you want to say. It was really good play, really good game for
Salford
Salford.
needed this.
Salford needed it, yeah. They've won a lot of games close, and they haven't put points on. But what on earth would you say in the changing rooms if you were a Huddersfield player, or coach, or anything?
That's what I was going back to you before, was about the coaching job that, people are applying for. What do you do? It's a bit... So, I don't know. I mean, I suppose the need for Spurs to bring up this new coach is Sam Burgess. Because it feels a bit like Warrington S when he took over, going into a squad with demotivated players who don't seem to be able to get a result on a pitch.
Even Warrington weren't conceding 60.
No, yeah. And I think they have a better squad than Huddersfield do. But
But they've not conceded 60 to Wigan, Saints, Wire. They've conceded it to Salford, who are questioning whether they'll get in the 6, and they missed out on the 6 last year. They'll probably get in the 6 this year. But they're not Hull KR. You know what I mean? They're not flying. Some of these tries were so easy. So easy, and you just end up with a... How would you fix that in an off-season? At least Warrington was sticking in games, like you said with Burgess. He had to get things right and he had to sort things out and get some players in and out. But they need 10 new players. I genuinely think they need 10 new players.
I think they need to do what Holbrook did when he come into
Keep it simple.
Saints after Cunningham. Just simplify it.
Keep it really simple.
Let's go down to what you always say, Dukes and Maguire said. Let's just go back to running hard, tackling hard, wanting it more.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing we're going to do before I think about anything else. Stupid, simple. Let's just get the basics of this game right. Complete high, low errors, tackle hard, run hard, want it more.
Okay, move on to Sunday. London faced Lee. Game finished 32 points to 12. To Lee, sorry. At half time, Lee were winning 12 points to 6, but London scored first to get it 12-12. So they were really in this game for the first 50 minutes. A couple of things. John Asiata gets a yellow card, 25th minute. London, Rob Butler gets yellow card 2 minutes later. They're just killers. When you get a man advantage, to then go down to 12 yourself, it's just an absolute killer. And obviously London fatigued and they conceded just under 20 points in the last 10 minutes. But I've been impressed. This was a good performance from London. I know it's only a 50-60 minute performance, but they needed it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And they should be doing, played at home in this game. And that's what the home fans are going to want to see. You go back to like Cass before. It's a similar thing with London, that London fans and the club itself will be under and the players will be under no illusion that it's going to be tough, and they knew this year was going to be tough for it. But sticking in games, putting up a fight, and putting some pride in the shirt, I think that's
being in games. Being in games.
Yeah, being in games. And they've got a couple of wins for it.
I hope they get one more.
One more would be good. What did Wakefield get last year?
I think Wakefield got 8.
6 or 8. I don't know.
We're just getting to 8. It's guaranteed they're going down, let's be honest. If you get 8, you've had a decent fight at it. You've beat some teams, you've done a few bits. The one thing they've not had this year is an upset against someone, really. Like Wakey Beatles.
Catalan it would be.
London.
Oh, yeah, London when they beat Catalan.
Sorry, yeah, they beat Catalan at all. Yeah. So there you go. Ignore that. Yeah, they've had that big win. Something that you can pride yourselves on. Celebrate and go on. I hope they do well in the Championship, though.
Yeah,
I don't know if they will.
I don't think they will. I think the players are going to lose. And the problem is the players that have been here have actually done that decent of a job. Some of them have actually probably attracted players, and I think they're going to lose at least 6 or 7, if not more. Right, that wraps up Super League. Any final thoughts before we move on?
No, I think it's obviously shaping up to finish quite nicely. Everyone's still got something to play for, really, apart from Huddersfield and Cass. Well, they seem to want to finish above each other by some means. So
it's been a couple of blowout scorelines this week. One with 60 points to 10.
Yeah,
and obviously battered St Towns. There's hopefully some closer games to come in the following week.
But I will say with that OKR one, it's a bit different, isn't it? Two top 6 teams and one having a blow away. The Huddersfield one's a team who had nothing to play for.
Yeah.
Right, that wraps it up. We'll be back for the news.
Right, gentlemen, it's time for the news. What's been going on in the world of rugby league? And the answer to that is signings. It's been a busy one for recruitment. First one announced today, I believe, a couple of hours ago as we're recording this. Reece Martin signing for KR.
Yes.
There was talks, remember that? Was it you, Matthew, was saying he was linked to the Dolphins, was it? Earlier? Or was that a rumour?
Maybe the Dolphins was a rumour.
He started off being linked with the Dolphins at the start of the year. With obviously Wolf and his his kind of international connections with Wolf and...
I reckon it was too expensive for Dolphins, and then they moved on to other targets.
Yeah.
We've always talked about KR's backline being very strong though. They got JWH coming over, Martin's the second row, so
Bolstering the pack.
they're going back on. They're going for the pack. They're blustering up that pack. Next one, Truman on the move. I believe this has got a couple of weird implications to it. So Truman has signed for Wakefield permanently and immediately.
Yeah.
But then Wakefield have loaned him back to Hull FC.
Yeah.
So he is still at Hull FC, but he's on loan from Wakefield because he's moved there permanently, started immediately.
I think this must be so he can play in the playoffs for Wakefield.
It is.
Yeah.
Must be. He was already coming next year, wasn't he?
No, it hadn't been announced.
I don't know.
No, it was all rumoured, and it was one of them. Everyone knows it, but it's not been signed or sealed or whatever the final.
So he's
bit is.
basically finishing the season with Hull and
Then being
the
a
playoffs.
Wakey player for a month.
to do the playoff. Well, I don't know. I want to think about that.
Interesting.
I quite like it, you know.
I'd be annoyed if, maybe the halfback's injured, I'm not looked into it, but if you were Wakefield's halfback that you played all year and then he's going to come in and...
There's no guarantee that he won't play.
No.
It might just be. But listen, if we lose a half for playoffs, we're bringing Jake Truman in rather than a young lad.
Yeah, I'll see that one.
Weird one, that.
Pans
Keep your eye
out.
on
Yeah,
it.
it is a bit of a weird one, that one. Third and final signing. The Saints have been in the transfer market and they have signed the Cowboys winger Felt. Is it Kyle?
Kyle Felt.
Kyle Felt, I believe, yeah.
Kyle Felt.
So Kyle Felt. So we were saying before, the other one they've said, in a previous segment, I was mentioning the signing they've signed. He's a 32-year-old, I believe.
Yeah. He'll be 33 when he starts the season.
Yeah, from the North. So obviously, it looks like that's the direct replacement for Makinson.
Good player. I mean, he lines up quite similar to Makinson, actually. Good yardage from runs it down off the back fence like Makinson does. He'll be good in exit sets.
Good finisher.
Powerful, good finisher. Great in the air. Not speedy.
Yeah.
So he probably is a similar mould to Makinson. I think he'll get plenty of tries with the kicks to the corners, especially if he's up against some of the smaller wingers in the division.
Big player.
He's a big lad, yeah. But he's not one who's going to get outside you and sprint away and get...
It's the age for me. 32 replacing a 32-year-old winger.
If it's the right price, though, I don't mind it.
If it's for the right price, and that's where it comes, can they get someone else in?
Possibly cheaper than Makinson.
But obviously,
Makinson's going to be very expensive.
But obviously they're not very happy with Benison being the number 5. He's not been being picked as the winger.
Well, do you think they'll sign another winger?
If they could get 2 for the price of that, of Makinson, and Carl Felt's one of them, then I think very, very good signing.
I don't think they'll get 2 for the price of 1, but if they save some money elsewhere, I think they'll sign another winger.
I just think Corey Oates is available at Brisbane.
And you've got 2 that are the same.
But 30 years old, would he have been a little bit...
You've got no pace. You signing one excellent finisher who's good in the air and is over 30 on one wing, but then do you really just want to get the exact same guy on the other wing?
I was just thinking as opposed to Felt,
because
2 years younger.
Oates and Felt are quite similar players. You wouldn't go for both of them, I don't think. But we'll see if they do. But if they do, that's certainly going to be a couple of workhorses on the wings for them.
Yeah,
and still not much pace.
Away from the signings, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, known for a switcheroo this time. He switched positions from centre to full back, and he's switched from league to union.
Yeah. Back at centre now.
Back at centre now, and he's done another switcheroo. He has switched his international alignment, allegiance, whatever you want to call it. So has represented New Zealand internationally.
Yeah.
I remember him actually tearing England apart in one of the 3 test series that we played when he played full back for New Zealand.
Yeah. Was that Leeds, that one?
Yes.
He was at Ellen Road?
Yeah.
Plus, And
Switch to Samoa is the new story. By the way,
to Samoa,
switch
yeah,
to he's going from New Zealand to Samoa. Sorry, let's go.
So obviously, he'll be coming over here.
Well, you'd think so.
Or if selected.
You'd think. Well, you'd think he'd be selected.
But are New Zealand playing this winter?
Yeah, Pacific Championships on again.
So that's possibly him thinking he's not going to make it into the squad.
I mean, it's a good. I say a good signing for Samoa. It sounds like a signing, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Because I would imagine the Hammer's going to play for Australia.
Yeah. Who played fullback for Samoa at the World Cup?
Joseph Suaalii.
Who obviously won't be available. He'll have gone to rugby, won't he?
I don't know when he goes.
It's at the end of this season.
So I don't know if he plays the internationals or not. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I doubt it.
He's more winger centre anyway, the winter.
Yeah, he wasn't a great fullback. He should have been centre or winger, I think. The interesting thing, we tried to do this as well in the pub on Sunday, is select a team. We were trying to select a team for England, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we said what we should do, and we did start this, but we didn't finish it. If you kind of take all the major teams, the international teams, the major teams, I'm sure you all know which ones I'm talking about, and you create a team for them. If you were doing it from the bottom of the rankings up to the top, and you chose the strongest team Samoa could have, the strongest team Tonga could have, the strongest team England could have, New Zealand, what sort of a team would be left for Australia?
It's still unreal.
It would still be unreal, I'm sure it would. But you know how...
They wouldn't have the hammer.
They wouldn't have the hammer, yeah. Or probably wouldn't have Val Holmes, or... Yeah, New Zealand wouldn't have Joey Manu, potentially. So you know what I mean? If you went up to the top, would Australia still have a team that's miles ahead of everyone else's?
I'm just thinking how would England be affected by that?
England? Well,
I think we'd be relatively unaffected.
England would be relatively unaffected, unless you started saying Jake Ward could go and play for Scotland, depending where you started, at the bottom.
Yeah.
But if you did all the ones in like the tier 1, the tier 2 nations, and you started with PNG, Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, England, New Zealand, Australia, not necessarily in that order, what sort of a team could you create for everyone that would probably make a fair...
It'd bring Australia down, wouldn't it?
It would bring them down a bit. It'd still be favourites to win everything, but it'd bring them down a bit. It'd bring New Zealand down a whole host as well.
And bring other teams up, which is the main
Yeah,
thing, isn't it?
and I think that's what
If Samoa's
we
your
quite
Tongas.
like.
I don't think it'll be long before they get rid of the tier 1, tier 2. Or they move some teams up to tier 1.
Yeah, but if they move teams up to tier 1, then that means you're going to have a weaker Samoa and Tonga. If you move Samoa up to tier 1 tomorrow, they would immediately get much weaker. Because all the guys who want to play Origin, but still want to play for Samoa, would not be able to play for Samoa anymore, because then they wouldn't be allowed to do
They'd
Origin.
align themselves with Australia so they can play Origin.
Yeah, they'd have to align themselves with Australia, because you can't align yourself with a tier 1 nation and Origin.
The international board's going to have to do something about that.
Why? There's too much flip-flopping.
Yeah. Not flip-flopping as such, I just think... To say, how many tier 1 nations have we got now? Is it 4?
I don't know if we've got 4 yet. I think we've only got 3.
I thought 1 had gone up. There might be 3.
I think there's only 3.
To say, when we've got tier 1 nations and there's 3, doesn't look great for the game. And whether that's saying, listen, we're going to allow you to keep playing Origin.
Just do away with the tiers altogether.
Yeah.
But then that would just lead to New Zealanders playing Origin. I think that's the one thing they want to avoid. But if Tongans and Samoans are allowed to, why not?
It just loses credibility, doesn't it, when you say, like, Tonga's a tier 2 nation, but it's filled with Origin players, and they beat Australia in a test match, but it's a tier 2 nation.
But if you made them tier 1, they'd have to get much worse, because those players have to leave, so that's the stupid thing.
I get it.
If you say, Tonga are doing really well, let's make them tier 1, why do they keep losing?
To be fair, if you make that rule, then you lose, like Mitch Moses at Lebanon.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
The ones that you aren't even considering for tier 1.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. 2 more pieces of news, just to wrap this up. Whitehaven, we mentioned them last week.
Oh, yeah.
New coach, Kyle Amor. They managed to get a win.
They did.
New coach.
They beat Dewsbury.
Yeah, new coach fever, or whatever you want to call it. And I believe they were down to 14.
They had one man on the bench, they had one man on the bench.
Oh, they didn't go down to 14.
No, they didn't go down
They
to
only announced 14
14 players.
Oh, wow.
And it's still rumbling on this, because loads of staff left yesterday, and the players are currently weighing up whether they want to play this weekend.
Because they're not getting paid still.
And because I think more because the rest of the staff aren't getting paid.
Yeah.
The rest of the staff have had to leave. So, not a nice moment. Obviously, they'll have had a good time on Sunday, or Saturday, whenever it was, and
that's it. The longer it goes on, then like the adrenaline and you can get up for it for 1 week playing with 14. You have to do that again and again. That's when it starts getting to you and it starts becoming a problem then. So
you can't do it for the long term, can you?
No.
Luckily for him, the season's ending. I think that is the 4 weeks left in. 4 or 5
yeah,
weeks, whatever it
that
is.
will be.
So they don't have to do it for long. But what?
It's a long time if he's not getting paid, though.
Yeah, yeah.
And final piece of news, lads. Sam Tompkins has been announced as the England team manager.
Team manager, yeah.
Something that was previously done by Jimmy Peacock. I don't really know what duties fall underneath team manager, but I like the idea of having Tompkins.
Yeah.
You know, he's been probably the closest thing we've had in our game to, you know, an English superstar.
I'll tell you what, though,
Ready for
Tompkins is
coming.
getting his fingers in some pies.
I know.
Looking at Catalan, looking at Sky,
He's-
he's got his vineyard.
Still a player on the
Still
Catalan
pl- he's
attacking
still
coach
playing.
or something.
Yeah.
Sky Sports punditry in the England setup. He's got a big pension coming up when he actually finally does retire from all these different job roles.
Yeah.
But no, I like the idea of having Tompkins around England in any shape
Yeah, I
or form.
agree. I 100% agree.
I'd love to know what comes with this role and what he'll be doing in it. Is it like a mentorship role, or is it actually like managing who plays, looking at?
I don't think he'll be a
squads?
selector. I think Wayne will be the selector.
I just love to know. Maybe he's asking him
Well, we know, how what's the word?
where he rates him, don't he?
Yeah,
How
the
much you
high
trust him.
regard that Wayne views Sam Tompkins in. So I think don't get me wrong, I don't think Sam will pick his team for him, but I think he'll love to have those conversations with Sam of who needs to go in and who's a good pick.
And also, with 100% all due respect to Sean Wayne, he's not going to be on the training park in his boots running around organising things, is he?
No.
You need someone who's only recently stopped playing to do that. So, yeah, maybe he'll be the right-hand man. Maybe he'll be just sort of in and around the team and being a sort of vocal presence. And they'll have a coach and assistant coach, and there'll be something completely different, which is what it sounds like. But, yeah, good for him. Get him involved. It'll only make them better, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Definitely. And with that said, boys, that wraps up the news.
Brilliant. So we're going to do a little bit of reviewing the NRL, going down under to have a look at some of the games around the West. They won.
Yes.
Is that back to
That's
back?
back to back, baby.
Back to back.
They are.
Back to back for Benji.
Next year they're in playoffs. Lock them in the 8.
They are Canterbury next season. Like,
They beat the Rabbitohs. Beating the Rabbitohs is one thing. Beat Manly. And Manly are going for the top 8. Like, they were going for top 4 before this. So, what a win.
fair play to him.
It's not much else to say, though. Canterbury beat New Zealand in New Zealand, 34 points to 18. It was close, this 18-16 at half time, but second half, Bulldogs really stole the show, really. And it was Sean Johnson's last game at home.
Yeah.
Couple of things that you thought might have kept New Zealand in it, but great win for the Bulldogs.
Well, Sean Johnson, what a player he's been for the whole country of New Zealand, but especially for that city of Auckland. What a player he's been.
Canterbury, from where they were last season, the 2 points off being joint second.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is an unreal turnaround.
Yes, it is.
They are 2 points away from Penrith, Cronulla and Sydney Roosters.
Yeah, yeah. It is, you're right, it's crazy that they...
Now, if you want to talk about the opposite of that, Brisbane made the grand final last year. 2 points outside the 8. I don't think it's likely for them to get in. They need St George to lose both the last 2 games. I can't see it. They beat Parramatta, 30 points to 24. With Adam Reynolds. If Brisbane want to win a comp, I do think the window's closing for them. But they need Adam Reynolds fit for all season next year. If he's fit, they have every chance.
Yeah.
If he misses 3-4 months, they're in trouble.
Well, this was a must-win for him, wasn't it? And luckily they did. by trying a conversion, but to win.
They needed to win. They're still holding out hope for this year.
They've sent Thingy off though, haven't they? Reece Walsh to have his surgery. And they were going to delay it, but then they delayed it for a bit.
They said they're not giving up, but you think they are?
I think they have.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have sent Walsh.
Yeah,
they might not have played him and had him waiting, but
we'll see.
That's prepping for next year for me.
Well, they know they've got a good squad, so they could always be back next year.
Canberra beat the Panthers.
Yep, of course. You just don't predict Canberra games. They got absolutely railroaded last week by Cowboys. Come back and beat second best team in the competition.
Yeah. Penrith will be a little bit worried here. They were a win away at Melbourne from going top.
And that was a really close game.
They've lost 2, and they're now 6 points behind top. Melbourne have
they've wrapped up the Shield.
The minor premiers with 2 games to go. But they're now sitting 4th on points difference behind Sydney and Cronulla, and that means Penrith are potentially going to have to go to Melbourne in that first game. That's going to be really difficult.
If they finish 4th.
If they finish 4th.
They could get 3rd still.
They're still on the same points, but
I think they'll get 3rd. Well, if they get 2nd, then they're laughing. But I think they'll not finish 4th.
It's going to be tough for them, though. Really tough. Speaking of Melbourne, 48 points to 6 over the Finns.
Emphatic win this time.
Yeah, I feel bad for the Finns, really, because they dropped on the worst team to play at the worst possible moment. They come up against Melbourne, who were absolutely flying.
Are they favourites to win it now, do you think, Melbourne?
Well, I don't know.
Depends how bad this Cleary injury is.
If they've peaked too soon, you never know. But I think that they certainly got a very, very good squad, very good team. You know what's not mentioned is in the last 10 years, only 3 teams have won the Shield. We've got more diversity in the League Leaders Shield in this country.
Well, they've got a bit more in terms of winning the...
In terms of winning the comp, they might have a bit more diversity.
They've had a few win it, obviously. The Cowboys, Cronulla.
Sharks. Yeah.
So that's 5 at least, without thinking about it.
Yeah.
So they've got a bit more diversity in that top, in the major prize. So this is where they've got to improve the Finns. Obviously, they've had 2 very good starts to the season, but then sort of just died off towards the back end. They did it in the first season, they did it in the second, potentially going to lose Wayne Bennett this year.
Yeah.
That's where they've got to improve. They've got to go for a full season next. That's the next step for them.
Yeah.
It must be tough though when they've built a squad from scratch and they've made so many changes every year. They've obviously gelled quite well initially at the start of every year, but to keep them going at that level must be tough.
Must be. Souths lose to the Newcastle Knights 36-16. Obviously no Pierce Paul. He's out for the rest of the season.
And gruesome injury. You think he'll play against Samoa or no?
I don't think so.
They said it looks like he's been in a motorcycle accident. That's how bad that injury is.
It's a very big gash.
You see 4 layers of his leg.
I don't think he'll play purely because of that injury. Knights, this could give them a very, very outside chance. 2 points outside the 8 with 2 games to go. Probably too little, too late for them. The Roosters, they beat the Titans 48-22. This took them to 2nd in the Premiership standing.
Yep.
For a team that were disappointing last year.
Part of me wants the Roosters to win the whole shebang.
I think they've got
just because I think it's probably their last chance for a while, and there's something iconic about the Roosters brand, and I think the league is better when the Roosters are good. I think it's the same about Manly.
Yeah,
the league's better when Roosters and Manly and Eels, if you want a third one, when them teams are good, the league's better. Because we always think, who were the good teams? Rabbits, Roosters, Manly, Melbourne, obviously, who are still good. But those are the big teams, the good teams.
Yeah. Gold Coast, obviously, a bit of an up and down season for them. They're going to finish 13th, maybe 14th.
Yeah.
Very poor to start with under Des.
That's pretty similar to where they finished last year, isn't it?
Yeah, but remember they were in the 8, weren't they? And they sacked.
They sacked him because they weren't in the 8, but they were level.
On points difference, it was. So I think this is tough, and it's been an awful job for Des to take over, but I can see improvement there. Final game, Cronulla. They beat St George 38-10. Bit of a rivalry there, isn't there?
Good game, that. We just had it on the TV here while we've done the first bit of the podcast. Yeah, it's a good game. I think Cronulla are finding a bit of form.
Takes Cronulla to third.
We kind of wrote them off a few weeks ago saying they'd lost a load, but finding some form here at the right time.
I think it's because they've just been inconsistent, haven't they?
They have, yeah.
They've lost games that they really should have won. It's probably stopped them probably competing again for like an outright second place, even trying to run Melbourne, to the last day of the season.
And they've actually been pretty decent in like the mid games and the difficult games, but they've just dropped probably 3 or 4 what you would class as easy matches.
Yeah.
They should have won. If they won them, they'd have been up near the top.
Obviously, still doing it without Nico.
Yeah, he's kicking Trindle.
Trindle's kicking.
Tricky Trindle.
You seen that the other half, that Daniel Atkinson?
Yeah.
So he basically only played like 4 games this season.
He's been electric.
But every time he's played, they've had no other half back.
Yeah.
I think the fullback was injured for a spell of them as well. He's just bossed every game that he's been in.
There was a sign. There was a sign at the game earlier because it was on the TV. It said Atkinson, number 6 on the field, number 1 in my heart.
Italian, could play for Italy. Glad to see that. I think there'll be plenty of clubs like eyeing him up.
Tedesco might drop down to Italy as well. Imagine them two running hard.
Who was it that did that for the Roosters? It was an Australian fullback.
Tedesco played for Italy in the past.
I feel like there was a
Anthony Minicello.
They
both played Minicello.
Yeah. Playing for Italy. Right, that wraps up the NRL. Should we have a look at some predictions? Super League predictions?
Yeah, so why not?
Obviously, Wigan play Catalan. We'll start off there. I'm not going to ask you to predict it. I know you're going to pick Wigan.
You say that every week. We never, ever predict the Wigan match.
I'd love for one day for one of you to say it.
No, because we don't actually even count it in the predictions.
I know. Where do you see this game being won or lost?
Well, given that we pride ourselves on our defence, and Catalan have been struggling to score tries, put points on people, even though their defence is pretty good, I'd like to think that it'll be won on defence.
Yeah, I can't really say much different to that. I think you're right.
It's errors for me. I think they've got to keep the errors down now. If we don't give Catalan easy ball, I think this is our game to win. Whoever has the field position, if we keep hold of the ball, I'm confident for us.
I don't even mind like a low scoring, a bit like a boring, like we might score a couple of tries, we have to back some kicks or something.
20 points to 4 again.
A little kick in behind or some touches. I don't need big fancy flowing moves or wingers diving over. I'm quite happy just to,
I'm with you, I think.
Like you said, complete well, don't make errors. Just get a couple of tries, even if they're a bit scrappy, or just off kicks or something like that.
Yeah.
Defend well and get out of there with 2 points and fly back home.
I agree.
Right. Friday. 2 games on Friday. Start off at Lee. They host Warrington. Lee need to turn someone over. There's two games standing out in this for Lee in the last 4. They've got to play Lee and Hull KR, Saints and Cass. And I think if they want to win this, they've got to turn over Hull KR or Wire. They've got to beat one of them.
They've got to win 3 games from Warrington, Hull KR, Castleford and St Helens. That's not an easy task.
No, it's not.
And that's why I'm thinking they're not going to make it.
That Saints one on the last day of the season.
But you never know.
That Saints one's the last game, isn't it? So that is what it is. Like, Saints might have be guaranteed a place and resting players. You never know where that's going to be.
I can't wait for this game. I'll kick off. I can't wait for this game. I think Warrington are going to win, but I think it's going to be really close. I cannot wait to see. I can't wait to see Lee against Warrington this Friday.
Are you going, Lewis?
I'm going the other way. I'm going the Leopards.
Yeah, I can see it.
I think it means more.
I can see
I think they're fighting to try and get in the top 6 in the playoffs. I think Warrington, the league leaders, is probably going to go to Wigan or KR. They know the sport. They've still got Dufty out, I believe.
Dufty's out.
For quite a bit, yeah.
Dufty's out for quite a bit.
For some finals, they reckon.
So, Dufty's still out, which gives Lee a return, so their fans will be up for it knowing that this takes them one step closer to that top 6. I'm going Lee. I think it means more.
I'm going Lee as well. I think I think they'll still miss out on the 6 because I think they'll put too much into this. They have to win this game, and I could just see that messing them up for the end of the season.
Double cough.
Sorry. Sorry, listeners.
It's all right. We'll let you off.
There's that one who always complains.
Oh, like I want to be coughing
I know.
after I do the episode. Like,
That one time we were ill stars this year.
don't have me.
I think Lee will win, but I think it might mess them up for the rest of the season.
Oh, two of us are going for Lee. Oh, okay.
I can't believe he's back in wiring. You're the odd one out.
I know. I thought.
No, I always agree with Matty, to be fair.
I know.
The first, I knew I was going, I'm going to go with Matty. So it's nice I've actually not just jumped on the bandwagon and I'm different.
Hull KR Salford. Salford we talk about again in that battle. I don't think this is one that they're going to be targeting out of the 4. They're going to try and win.
No, I've heard Salford could be letting a few players have a week off and targeting some other games.
Because they've got Catalan at home,
to get-
Hull FC and then us.
to win the 2 middle ones of that.
Yeah.
Because two wins would get them in.
Yeah. I can't blame
And on
them
that
for
basis, I'm going to go with Hull KR. Although, Salford are a good side. If they go for it, they could knock them down, you know.
Lewis?
Yeah, okay, I don't lose this at all.
I don't think they do. I think Hull KR win at home. Move over to Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff. Hull FC, Castleford.
Yeah.
At Hull FC.
This game really matters. To someone, presumably somewhere.
To Castleford and Hull FC fans.
Presumably there'll be 0.04 IMG points based on this game, so I'm sure it matters to 2 people in particular.
I'm going Castleford.
I'll go with Castleford, whatever.
Yeah.
Just Cass. Let's just back Cass, why not?
Well, I don't think you back all FC these days, can
No,
you?
true.
No. Obviously, Wigan play Saturday night,
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
Don't get caught out with it, usually 5:30.
I know, I was going to say, later kick off.
But Sunday, 2 games.
Yeah.
Leeds make the trip down to London.
Yeah.
If we're right and Cass beat Hull FC, could London turn over Leeds to go off bottom?
Well, they would go off bottom, wouldn't they, if they beat Leeds? Are these 2 Sunday games at the same time?
Yes.
Ah,
2 games, 3 o'clock.
that's a shame.
2 games Friday, 8 o'clock on Friday. Who you going, London or Leeds?
Leeds, it's got to be,
I
hasn't it?
think I'm going for Leeds as well.
I'm going Leeds. It's the last chance to get into the playoffs.
So we got so no Thursday again.
No Thursday.
2 Fridays at the same time. Saturdays are staggered. 2 Sundays at the same time. So the maximum you can watch is 4 games.
And don't get me wrong, we're going to talk about the next game, Huddersfield Saints. That's not a difficult trip for a Thursday.
No, that could be a thing.
Like it's not 2 big trips on a Sunday. But go on, who are you going? Huddersfield, St Helens.
For that one,
Could they get the John Smiths bouncing with 4,000 fans?
yeah, what a spectacle this could be if Saints don't turn up. I think Saints will get it right at some aspects and just about have enough.
I think Saints could play as poorly as they did and still beat Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've got to turn around at some point. I do think they'll make the playoffs. I think this game could be the start of a bit of a upward trajectory for them.
Yeah. Right. That wraps the episode up.
What would you do with the staggered times, kick-off times? I'm just thinking. We want to add 2 teams, don't we?
Yeah.
What would you do? Thursday night, Friday night?
I wouldn't mind there being 2 games on a Friday.
2 Saturdays staggered. 2 Sundays staggered, like a Super Sunday, and a Monday night.
I would stay away from Monday night.
We used to do Monday night, didn't we?
I think Monday night struggles if you then end up with Thursday games. You've then got to pick which teams can play Monday to Thursday,
Yeah.
the rest that they have, things like that. So I would stick to the 4 days, personally.
And then you just have 2 on a Friday night at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the only one. So at least you can watch 6.
You can watch 5 or 6 games
You can
a week
watch 6 out of 7 games
if you really wanted to.
if you wanted to. If you were rugby league tragic,
Yeah.
like there's plenty of them.
Yeah. Well, right, that wraps it up. Thank you for coming on, lads. It's been a pleasure as always. We'll be back next week to see where we're at after a trip to France.
Yes.
Best of luck to the lads.
All the best. Let's hope something French gets through the airport. And the Catalans get beat 40-0 and the man of the match is still French. Let's wait and see on that one.